We are continuing to knock out everything we need to on the 07 STI behind me here. Now, like I said in the last video on this car, we're missing a whole bunch of little stuff to really get the car wrapped up. And for the most part, I pretty much have it all here. So we actually might get a first start in this video, or it'll be the next video. I'm not 100% sure, it depends. No, it'll be the next video because I'm missing 2 NPT fittings that I need for the brake booster line to be able to finish up the vacuum system. So we're gonna get, hi bud. So we're gonna get everything done as close as we can. And then in the next video, hopefully this thing should be firing up. We're gonna get our base tune loaded on, all the other stuff. Now, a couple days ago, I did come over to the shop and I was working on this thing. I shot a whole video on it. I didn't like the video, but I saved some of the clips. So we went through, we pulled out the entire shifter linkage, replaced all the bushings in there, replaced the U-joint.
Now the main reason I wanted to go through and do all this drivetrain stuff is the car has 158,000 miles on it. After you get to higher mileage in these cars, all the bushings just get worn. So we tossed in a Group N STI transmission mount. I needed to get the entire shifter linkage out as well, so that way we could swap out the U-joint. You see, the U-joint is the thing that makes the biggest difference. As you can see on the table there, it's that little X looking black bushing, and that's what makes the biggest difference in left and right play of the shifter when you're actually driving the car. We also tossed in a Cartboy short shifter and all these other goodies to just try to enhance the feel of the shifter itself. Now that U-joint, like I said, it's well worth it. It's a cheap mod to do, but dear Lord, is it one of the worst ones to have to install. You have to drop all that. There's 2 roll pins in there, and it's just a nightmare to have to remove.
I am a huge fan of the OEM shift knobs. I think they look the best. So if you go into gear, you can wobble it back and forth, and there is like almost no play now. Feels crisp, feels smooth. So we have a Cartboy short shifter installed, the Torque Solution solid U-joint, the Cartboy front shifter bushing as well. And that's all we were able to do because those are all the bushings that I had. But it feels immaculate. This thing used to like move side to side like that in gear. And what happens is that stock U-joint, it's just made out of bushings and rubber. And over time, they just become poop. With 158,000 miles on this thing, is no wonder it felt like poop, and now it feels great. 10 out of 10, I would recommend the mod. 0 out of 10 for the install because it definitely sucks butt. So let me show you what I got on the table here to get this thing even closer to being able to start again for the first time with it being under new management. Like I said, on the table I have a lot of stuff that we need for this car. We'll start down here at this end. I mean, this is going to be in a later video, but I did get a Cerakote ceramic headlight restoration kit just to kind of save the headlights that we have on there. They're not that bad, but they do need to be cleaned up quite a bit. I grabbed some wire that we need to hardwire in the fuel pump. I got a rotated setup for this car, but that'll be happening in the future, so don't look at that. I had to find some old banjo bolts to be able to get the oil feed line done on the car, so I grabbed those. I ordered a brand new power steering pump bracket. It said this was on back order, and then it just kind of showed up this morning. So Fernando down at Force Induction Motorsports gave us one of his, so I'm going to return that to him because this one just randomly showed up. New power steering pump switch, radiator hoses, AC belt, rear differential gasket because our rear diff is leaking a ton, oil for obviously just to put oil in the car, a turbo blanket. I got masking tape and a whole bunch of detailing pads because we are going to, in a later video, we're going to try to save this paint job by cutting, buffing, polishing, doing everything that we can to try to bring it back, short of wet sanding. I was told not to wet sand this car since it has a mystery Mako paint job on it. We just don't know how much clear coat and paint is actually on there. Stainless steel clutch line, we're going to toss that in. Fuse, relay, some heat shrink, some wiring, whole bunch of stuff so that way we can finish up the IAT sensor speed density hybrid setup as well as get the fuel pump switch wired in. So what I'd like to start with today is kind of some stuff up here in the engine bay. Let's get the power steering pump in, get all the lines hooked up to it, get the alternator in, and just kind of wrap up the front of the engine here so that way this is just, we can just mark this as done. Look at that, dude. It's starting to, it looks even more complete. So we have coolant in the car, we have oil in the car, we have our alternator in, our power steering pump in. I do still need to hook up this line, but I need to go down to the rack side and loosen it because they don't put this on a swivel fitting, so I can't. I mean, I can, but it's just gonna look dumb if I hook it up like that and it's just not gonna work right. So I need to go down to the other side, loosen it up so I can rotate the hose a little bit so we can get it on here, then retighten both sides. Shouldn't be bad, but before we do any of that, I'm gonna go ahead and do something that I should have done a long time ago, and that's kind of wrap up the turbo area. We don't have a turbo feed on there right now to feed oil to the turbo, and we kind of need to do that. See, I didn't know that Grimspeed actually gives you a fitting to be able to put into the back of the cylinder head. I thought that I needed an OEM one. So I went to the house, I dug up some old OEM ones that I have. I actually don't need them. So this one's gonna go to the head side. This one's gonna go to the turbo side. They give us a line for it. This is not gonna be fun. It's not gonna be exciting. And it's gonna kind of suck. So once we get the oil feed on, we'll toss on our PTP turbo blanket as well. And then that'll kind of wrap up the turbo side. We can get the intercooler piping on there permanently. That's gonna put us like super close to being able to start this thing up. So after getting the oil feed on, I decided that it would be a good idea to just knock out the IAT sensor wiring right now. So we went ahead, we altered the MAF harness, and we pulled off the green and the brown wire and just routed those to our IAT sensor. That's just gonna give us a more accurate temperature reading from the MAF, so that way the ECU can see more accurate changes. So feed all done right down there. We have our turbo blanket on. I went ahead and just tossed this intercooler pipe in for good. I did have to trim down the elbow a little bit just to get everything to sit right, but pretty happy with that. I got our hybrid speed density rewired up and done up to our MAF sensor down there. So we are now hybrid speed density. So this thing is, all we have left to do really is the bypass valve. And that's really all that's stopping me from starting this car. And I guess the fuel system, we still need to wire up the fuel pump, but that's really not too bad to do. But what I'm gonna do right now is go ahead, open up my computer, go ahead, download the tune, get the tune loaded onto the car. And then after that, we'll build some oil pressure in this thing. We'll get oil pressure built. We'll hear this thing turn over for the first time. Everything should sound good. I did go ahead and fill up the power steering reservoir with some fluid, so that way as it does turn over, the new pump and the new rack and the new lines can go ahead and start sucking in fluid. So why are there no security lights or anything? Oh, that's not good. I may have popped a main fuse when I accidentally grounded the alternator earlier. Ah! That was weird. I blew the main 120 amp. Never popped that before, but then again, I don't often short out my charging system. Should work now. Gauges, I see lights showing up on the dash. Beautiful. Put on our base tune! Test connectors. Dude, those things are gonna be the death of me. Okay, test connectors are disconnected. PSI, no. Do you see that? We built that. Go be free. You don't want to be free, do you? That's all right, man. You don't gotta be free. You can live with us. Pretty stoked though. We got oil pressure. It sounded great. We got up to about 60 PSI. So now that we have oil pressure built, I want to jump back in here. I want to try to tackle this clutch line right here that I have. So I have a Goodrich, I want to say it. I don't remember what brand this is. I have a stainless steel clutch line for this car. I tried to take it off last time and I was getting my ass kicked by the 10mm hardline bolt right down there. So let me try to swap this thing out one more time. If I can't get it off and I feel like I'm gonna damage the line, I'm just gonna leave the stock one on there, but I already have this stainless steel one. So since I have it, I'd like to throw it on. So let me battle with that thing. And then I wanna try to get this thing pushed out to be able to see it with the Regamasters on fully because dude, it looks so good. It looks so good. New stainless steel clutch line all installed nicely. Those are always such a pain. They do give a slightly like better feel to your clutch pedal, but it's not really required. The only reason I threw that in is just because I had it sitting around. So I want to get this thing up in the air. The last thing I want to do tonight before I jet out is swap out the rear diff cover. I'll show you why. It's pretty nasty. I don't know about you guys, but that is pretty nasty. That means that it is seeping out of here. Could be seeping to the bottom, the drain plug, the fill plug. To be honest, I don't know. It's just covered in so much old fluid and crap that, oh fuck, dude. I don't even know how I'm gonna be able to get that out. I think I gotta drop the diff to swap that cover. I'm not gonna do that. I am gonna clean up the crustiness and clean off all the wetness, and if I see if the wetness all comes back, then at that point, I'm gonna have to drop this diff out to be able to swap all that, which that's just gonna suck. I'm not looking forward to that if we gotta do that. So I have the gasket, so if we need to swap it, we will. So for now, I'm just gonna clean all this up. It's just kind of crusty. Rear diff is all cleaned up for the most part. Like I said, it doesn't need to be perfect. This car, the whole point of this car is not to make it perfect, just to make it fun so I can enjoy it. If I do see this get wet again, then I will drop the diff to replace all that. I just don't want to have to drop the diff if I don't have to. It's just kind of a pain. I do have the gasket if need be, but I did notice that the sensor is normally how I fill this. I'll just pop the sensor out. The sensor was loose, so it looked like it was seeping out of the sensor and just kind of coming down and spreading everywhere. So new fluid in that. It did look like relatively clean-ish fluid in there, so I'm assuming it wasn't changed out that long ago. We need to do the transmission still and get that axle fixed with that axle seal, but I'm just waiting on the seal to come in before we drain anything out of here. Because if the car will be running before that seal comes in. Car should be running Friday is when I think that bypass valve flange comes in. So as soon as that flange comes in, we're good to start this thing up. Overall, I'm happy with the progress in this video. We got the entire shifter bushing setup done, new transmission mount, new shift linkage bushing, short shifter, solid U-joint, power steering pump in, alternator in, belts in, radiator filled up, fluids in this thing, rear diff fluid changed out. This thing's pretty much ready to go. Like I said, the one thing that we're still waiting on is just this bypass valve adapter flange, because the car's just gonna run like absolute crap if I tried to do anything and still like make it run. It's just not worth trying to run the car like that. So it's whatever. We got power steering fluid in, oil in, coolant in, rear diff swapped out. We still have that transmission to do, but overall, I mean, even just looks wise, man, this thing's looking absolutely killer. So tomorrow, I don't think I'm bringing the dogs over to the shop with me. I really want to just get this car done so that way I can get out of the shop. I just feel so cooped up in here all the time that I want to be out just doing stuff, but I need to get this car working so I can get the RX-7 in so I can start doing stuff to the RX-7. I need to bring the STI in because I need to swap out the oil pump on the STI for that 11 mil still, and just all this little random stuff that I have with the other cars, but I want this one to work. I told myself this will also be the first time, come Friday, when this car runs, every single car I have, this will be the first time in Smedia history, every single car in the fleet will work. Maybe not to 100% capacity, but they'll all work, and that's kind of cool. But with that, that's all I got for you guys on this one. If there's anything that you guys saw that we installed on this that you want for your car, remember, use our discount code over at Rally Sport. Save yourself 10% on any of the goodies. Trust me, when you start ordering a lot of stuff, it definitely adds up saving that 10%. So with that, so that's all I got for you guys on this one. If you like the video, you know what to do. Go ahead, hit that like button, turn it black, blue, green, yellow, purple, silver, cyan, whatever color it turns for you. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel and you want to be up at one of these corners, no idea which one quite yet, but with that, I'll catch you guys in the next one. So peace out, homies.